Today is May 28th, 2025, and you're listening to Space News First Up.
Discover your next mission in the space industry with the Space News Job Exchange. Visit spacenews.com/jobs to find top aerospace roles and connect with leading employers.
Here are today's top headlines in space. Starship made it to space on its latest test flight Tuesday, but a loss of attitude control resulted in an uncontrolled re-entry. Rocket Lab announced Tuesday it is acquiring Geost, a producer of sensor payloads. Bulgarian small-sat manufacturer Endurosat has raised $49 million. And Exotera Resources has supplied York Space Systems with 21 propulsion modules for Space Development Agency transport layer satellites.
First Up is produced by Space News, the industry standard for professional space journalism. Visit spacenews.com for breaking news, policy updates, and original analysis.
We start today with news that Starship made it to space on its latest test flight Tuesday, but a loss of attitude control resulted in an uncontrolled re-entry. Starship lifted off from SpaceX's Starbase, Texas, launch site at 7:36 p.m. Eastern. Unlike the previous two flights, where engines malfunctioned during the Starship upper stage's ascent, the engine burn went as expected and put Starship into its planned suborbital trajectory. However, the vehicle suffered a propellant leak shortly thereafter and subsequent loss of attitude control. The vehicle performed an uncontrolled re-entry, and telemetry was lost during that re-entry. Starship was also unable to deploy Starlink mass simulators during the flight or relight a Raptor engine. The Super Heavy booster, previously flown on a launch in January, tested new re-entry and landing approaches during its descent, but the vehicle was lost during a landing burn. SpaceX had not planned to land the booster on this flight, instead aiming for a splashdown off the coast from Starbase. Rocket Lab announced Tuesday it is acquiring Geost, a producer of sensor payloads. Rocket Lab said it will buy Geost from its current owner, private equity firm ATL Partners, for $125 million in cash and $150 million in stock, with an additional $50 million in potential cash payments tied to revenue targets in 2026 and 2027. Geost is a supplier of electro-optical and infrared sensor payloads used in U.S. military satellites. The acquisition gives Rocket Lab access to satellite sensor technology used by the U.S. Department of Defense for missile warning systems and space surveillance capabilities that could help it win lucrative Pentagon contracts. Bulgarian small-sat manufacturer Endurosat has raised $49 million. The company announced a new funding round Tuesday, led by Founders Fund, an early investor in SpaceX. The new funds will help Endurosat build out a 17,500 square meter facility designed to produce up to 60 satellites per month by the end of the year. The company currently builds 12 to 15 CubeSats per month, but plans to significantly increase this rate with its Gen 3 Endurance platform, which weighs 200 to 500 kilograms. Endurosat plans to fly 2 Gen 3 Endurance validation missions in 2025. One to demonstrate propulsion technology and another to test an Earth observation system using in-orbit processing and a multispectral payload. Exotera Resources has supplied York Space Systems with 21 propulsion modules for Space Development Agency transport layer satellites. The delivery demonstrates efforts by Exotera, after raising money to expand staff and facilities, to achieve its goal of delivering 15 Iris 250 propulsion modules in 1 month. To speed up production, Exotera hired 100 people, quadrupled production capacity, and spent $8 million on equipment.
Share your company's news with the entire space industry through Stellar Dispatch, the press release service from Space News. Learn more and submit yours at spacenews.com/stellardispatch.
In other news, Space.com reports that another SpaceX launch went as planned Tuesday. A Falcon 9 lifted off from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California at 12:57 p.m. Eastern, putting 24 Starlink satellites into orbit. The launch was the first of a new group of satellites going to a new orbital inclination. The information reports that SpaceX offered Apple an exclusive deal to use Starlink direct-to-device services for iPhones, but Apple turned it down. According to a report, Elon Musk approached Apple in 2022 with a proposal that Apple pay $5 billion to give iPhones exclusive use of Starlink direct-to-cell services for 18 months, followed by $1 billion a year. Musk reportedly gave Apple only 72 hours to decide, warning that SpaceX would approach another company if Apple turned him down. Apple did reject the offer, and SpaceX instead announced a deal with mobile operator T-Mobile. Apple had earlier considered its own satellite constellation, working with Boeing, and is now working with Globalstar to provide emergency messaging services for iPhones. Apex unveiled its largest satellite bus yet Wednesday. The company announced it is taking orders for Comet, a bus using a flat satellite design that can generate more than 5 kilowatts of power and more than 500 kilograms of payload. Comet has long been on Apex's product roadmap, but the company said demand from potential customers, including both commercial constellations and potential defense applications, led the company to press ahead with Comet now. European spaceflight reports that the French space agency KESS has a new leader. France's Council of Ministers confirmed the selection of François Jacques as president and CEO of KESS. He had been head of the French Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission. He will fill out the remaining term of Philippe Baptiste, who stepped down at the beginning of the year to become Minister of Higher Education in the French government. Jacques will need to be reconfirmed if he is to remain as head of KESS once his current term ends in 2026.